Today we're going to be talking about FHA loan limit increases for 2024. It's imperative that you realize these numbers are for FHA loans only. Okay, if you're unfamiliar with the channel, I am a lender licensed in 48 states. So when the loan limits change, I pay real close attention. And we're going to walk through in this video, A, why have they changed? B, what are they changing to? C, what you need to make sure you know. And D, some of the problems as a lender I see that I would warn you against. So here we go. Okay, now first of all, I'm going to start with a quote because this is important. The statutory loan limit increases announced today reflect the continued rise in home prices seen throughout most of the nation in 2023, said Assistant Secretary for Housing and Federal Housing Commissioner Julia Gordon. Okay, so that's why we're seeing the loan limits for FHA in the bulk of the United States increase. It's because even though rates are high, even though it's really tough to buy a house right now in many situations, prices are still going up, okay? And what FHA does is they come up with a base and a ceiling. And anything in between is based off of 115% of the area median value. So what's really interesting about FHA versus conventional is they calculate differently. And that's why you'll see with a conventional mortgage, the loan limit is different than FHA. So let's talk about what the base and ceiling are right now. And I'm going to read them to you because these numbers are never even. They're always so random, it's ridiculous. And I don't know if they're just trying to torture us. Like, it is a question. Okay. The base, or the floor, is $498,257,000. So what that means is that a large portion of the United States, if you want to do an FHA loan, that loan is going to be capped at that $498,257. Okay? Now, the ceiling, meaning the highest, and this is what I think is actually interesting about this, is that there's a ceiling, but Alaska and Hawaii are actually higher. So the ceiling is $1,149,825. Woo! Once again, who is ever going to remember that number? No one. No one. Okay. So we're talking about a difference depending on where you are in the country, with the area median housing price being close to $500,000 versus, close to 1.2. It's wild, right? And what's really interesting is you're going to be like, oh, well, Jen, that just means must be a few places in the country. It's actually surprisingly not. So if you're in Alaska and Hawaii, you guys have a totally different world with FHA. Your loan limit is $1,724,725. That is the loan limit in Alaska and Hawaii. Also Guam and the U.S. Virgin Islands, which I do not lend in. The reason they do that for Alaska and Hawaii is because there is a higher cost of construction. So it's an interesting footnote, but if you are in either of those states, the FHA loan limit is incredibly high. Now you may be going, okay, Jen, you told us the base is about close to 500, but not, and the ceiling's 1.2. What states are which? Great question. It's not done like that. It is county by county. Yeah, so it's not like Texas is 600, Florida is 600. No. It is county by county. So in the comments for this video or in the description, I will have a link to both the announcement for FHA about the loan limits, as well as a link to the site where you guys can look up what the loan limit is for the county that you're looking at. Now, what I would suggest with that, and you're going to have to select the year 2024, very important. A lot of people forget to do that. I would look at the whole state, okay? And I was doing that today, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'm just going to tell you some of the things I saw, and I'll tell you why I think you should look at the whole state instead of just the one county you're looking at. So I guess I'll start there. The reason you should look at the whole state is sometimes you might be looking in one county, but then you might decide to go to the next county over. And the problem with the way FHA loan limits work is it can be really dramatically different. In California, Napa, for example, is over $1 million what the loan limit is. Sonoma, which is right next door, is about $857, and then you've got Mendocino, which is lower. So an area where you might be a buyer looking in a couple different counties, the amount that you can actually qualify for will vary dramatically. And this is something that lenders get tripped up on all the time. Sometimes it's our fault, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's as simple as you qualified someone for FHA in XYZ county, but then they ended up finding a house in another county. And as a buyer, you're going to be frustrated because it makes no sense. You're like, but it's 10 minutes away. How do I not qualify because it's 10 minutes away? This is why. Okay, this is why. So if you guys are getting pre-approved for an FHA mortgage, you definitely want to look up the state. Okay, I did that this morning, and I did see some stuff that was pretty surprising. First of all, let's start with California. California, there are so many counties over $1 million. There's a lot, but right next to those counties, like I talked about before, there's other counties that are nowhere near that. So you really need to be careful. And what I would suggest in any of these states, I want you to write down the county that you're looking in, what the loan limit is for 2024, and I want you to write down the surrounding counties, okay, that you may look in, and write down the loan limit there as well. You're gonna wanna talk to your lender about this because the lenders have no way to override. So if I approve you, sorry, that probably was loud. If I approve you for a county where, let's say the loan limit 612, 826, 425, right, because it's gonna be, and you end up in a county where the limit's 528, 326, because it's going to, I can't do anything. I don't have the power as a lender to override that. It's as cut and dry as you are in XYZ county, this is the limit. So it's really important that you guys pay attention to that. So as we just covered, you guys are gonna go to the link, you're gonna select 2024, you're gonna look at your state, you're gonna write down the county that you're looking at and the loan limit and the counties surrounding and their loan limits. Okay, now some stuff that I thought was interesting. If you're a nerd like me, you might find this fun as well. So I was like, this is supposed to react based on the median price. And I check every year, what's going on in the areas that I think are popping up. And for a long time, like Texas and Florida, so I would argue that Texas and Florida are the two biggest states that I've seen just a huge migration towards. Let me say that again, a huge migration. And I wasn't really seeing the loan limits pop up with that until now. So this is the first year where I went, oh wow, like they're starting to understand these areas are coming up. Do I think these loan limits are high enough? No, not based on what I'm seeing in the local markets. However, it's an interesting way to go, okay, for instance, I pulled Wyoming. You're like, Wyoming, well, wouldn't that be the base? Like is Wyoming expensive? Guys, there's counties in Wyoming that are very expensive. So their loan limit now is in the $700,000 or $800,000. So it's really interesting when you go state by state to see where the higher cost areas are. Because that's the deal. The higher the loan limit, the higher cost the area is. So just a couple things I thought were super interesting. Most of Texas is still at the base, at the 498, 257. However, you've got Dallas-Fort Worth, that came in at 563. Caldwell County, which is where Austin is, 571, 550. I don't know that those are necessarily high enough. Like, I don't think they are from what I see, but that's how they do their data. In Florida, what I thought was super interesting is I checked out Miami, right? That's where I live. Of course I'm gonna look at it. Miami-Dade County, Broward County, both of those are at 621 now. So that's interesting. That's definitely a reflection of what's going on in the market. But as I say that, this market is continuing to go up. Here's the really interesting one from Florida. And you guys are gonna be like, Jen, this is not interesting. It is. Key West. Okay, so Key West is in Monroe County, and the loan limit there is $929,200, right? Like, look, Key West is expensive, we all know that, but Miami is expensive too, we know that. So it's very interesting to just look at these loan limits, and I have a lot of clients who are trying to figure out where they want to live in the country, and this can be a fun way to look at different states and try to figure out if you're looking for somewhere to retire, if you're looking for somewhere that's affordable, where are the affordable places? Because in reality, the ones that have the base, which is the 498,257, or the floor as they call it, that's where the housing's less expensive. It's that simple, okay? So really interesting. Now, we talked about one of the ways where you could get messed up is if you're shopping in a specific county and then you move to a different county and it has a lower loan limit. Yes, that is one way you could get messed up. The other way you could get messed up is if you're qualified for a conventional mortgage, okay? In many cases, well, in every case, conventional mortgages have higher loan limits, not every, but 90% of the time because their floor or base is much higher. So if you're in a situation where you're qualified for a conventional mortgage, you want to push up, the lender may flip you to FHA without checking that county limit. And that can be a really surprising bite when you actually get into contract. So if you're switching from conventional to FHA, you definitely always want to ask your lender, hey, did you double check that FHA county limit to make sure we're going to be okay? Because a lot of times it's shocking. You know, there's a lot of parts in Texas and Florida where that conforming loan limit now is over 765, but the FHA is going to be at 498. That's a different world, okay? So definitely watch out for that. The other one, and look, this video is filmed at the end of 2023 because that's when this announcement came out. And these are not effective until case numbers after January 1st, 2024. You're like, Jen, what is a case number, right? What is it? Okay, I got bit by this early in my career. So guys, once upon a time, years ago, I had a client and the loan limit was going up for FHA. He got into contract in December. We're like, okay, if we close in January, that will be fine because the loan is going to close after the first of the year. That makes sense that we could use that higher loan amount, right? You can do that with conventional. Wrong. So with FHA, the case number, so when you fill out, let's say you do an application with me, you get into contract, woo! I put the address in, I order the case number for FHA, it's that date. Yeah, so if you want to use these higher loan limits, you need to not get into contract until the first week of January. Okay, and look, are there going to be lenders playing the game of like, oh, I'll just hold it for a couple days? Yeah, there's going to be lenders that get hit by just triggering it without realizing that the case number has to be after, you know, January 1st, 2024. So definitely keep an eye out on that. But look, the biggest news is this. Across the country, the loan limits have gone up. So for anyone who is thinking that the housing market was crashing, if the housing market was crashing, this is not what would be happening because all of this is based off of what's happening in the markets. So I hope this video was helpful. If you guys are thinking of buying a house or getting pre-qualified, please reach out to me. I want to be your lender. That's why I'm here. I'm here to educate you, empower you, and help you get into a home. Thanks for watching.